Assalamu alaikum. Good day everyone. This is Jai Khan and welcome to this very important video in which I will be sharing with you how did I manage to get 77th rank in Dhaka Medical College admission test. Now, if you are a science background student and if you're going to prepare for your medical admission test, you must be aware of the fact that after your ACC exam, you're probably going to get around maybe 100 days for preparing for your medical admission test, which is a very challenging and difficult thing for you. And besides that, if your GPA is not compatible, because DGHS has put a huge deal of emphasis on your SSC and ACC GPA, then you will be facing a great deal of problem during your medical admission test. Now for me, medical admission test was not a very big challenge, but it was a very big advantage for me because I had a great deal of passion for primarily two subjects which I will be sharing with you. One is biology and the second is chemistry. Okay, so I was a very big fan of these two subjects which helped me a great deal in this admission journey. Besides that, I was very much passionate for physics and English. Okay, so if you are willing to prepare for your medical admission tests and if you are not passionate for this subject, especially if you are not passionate for biology and chemistry, don't prepare for this exam because you are not going to be successful. And one of the things that I would like to share with you, when I was at your age, preparing for my admission tests, I didn't know a lot of the things. One of the important things that I would like to share with you that you should be willing to know that you don't actually get 60 minutes of time in your medical admission test. Because there are some rules and regulations. They will be taking your sign. They will be giving you your papers. It takes time to give you papers, right? It takes time to get your answer sheet from you. So they will be willing to spend some time of the admission test for your purpose. So you'll probably get at most 55 minutes of time for answering the 100 questions that will be in your medical admission test. Okay? Now, how do you succeed in this test? First of all, as I told you earlier, you have to have a great deal of passion for biology and chemistry. And also, during the admission test, you will be willing to have the psychology, the mentality, and also the willingness to perform very well. First of all, I will be sharing with you some experience of my admission test. When I was preparing for my admission test, I had at most maybe 100 days of time in my hand. And for me, it was a great deal of difficulty because my biology was covered, my chemistry was covered, my English was good, so I had to take a great deal of preparation for the physics and general knowledge part. But most of all, I succeeded primarily because if you are willing to prepare for your medical admission test, then you will have to be willing to do the necessary things for this exam. And one of the important things is that you take the best preparation that there is. Now, I will be willing to share with you another important aspects of my admission journey. That was what I did during the admission test. One of the important things that you will face while you are preparing for this admission test is the cut mark issue. Every year, students spend a great deal of time debating what will be the cut mark for the medical admission test this year. And do you know what is the cut mark for you? There's no limit of cut marks, especially if you want to be a good doctor, if you want to be a good doctor, one of the things you got to remember that, if you study in Rajshahi Medical College, you will not be valued as much if you study in Dhaka Medical College, right? So there will be a gap between your value, okay? So for me, there was no cut marks. I remember precisely during my admission exam, I met a boy, who was beside my seat, and he was very happy, as he said probably answered 70 questions, and he was very happy. Oh, he was so happy, that he answered 70 questions correctly, and he was counting them again and again. Okay, so I was shocked to say that, because I was willing to answer as many questions I could correctly answer. I didn't make probably a single mistake in answering biology, the botany and geology part. No mistakes at that, not in chemistry. Maybe I lost some mark in physics and maybe in GK, But I was quite sure after my admission test that I didn't lose any marks on my biology and chemistry section, which helped me a lot in attaining the much desired chance. Okay? And one of the things that I will be willing to share with you, that during my admission days, if you don't know that, I will be willing to share with you that I got chance in IBA as well. I attained the 7th rank in IBA admission test. So, and also very good ranks in GST admission test, University of Dhaka admission test, and all these other tests. I didn't have to go out of Dhaka to participate in any admission tests. Okay, so I will be willing to share with you what you can do, to attain this rank. So I was talking about my admission day. One of the important things that I would like to share with you, as I told you earlier, you will not get very much time for answering all the questions. So my advice to you will be, answer the questions as fast as possible. You must go with your first impression. Don't wait for your second or third impression. Go for your first impression, and also don't leave any questions answering. If you cannot answer it, if you cannot decide the answer, don't wait for it, but you should mark it, so that rather that if you get time in the later part of the exam, so you would come back and do something about it, right? But in general, you got to think that your first impression is the best impression. And also, I have a course for your admission preparation journey, in which I will be sharing with you the techniques which I used for getting chance. First of all, we deal with 3 subjects in our course. One is preparation strategy. You see, one of the important thing is for any admission test is your preparation. And another thing that I would like to share with you is that you got to understand this fact, that when you are preparing for this medical admission test for the second time, they're now deducting your mark. Okay, so you got to be not only serious, but you got to be very, very careful. Okay, because if you miss out the first chance of getting chance into Dhaka Medical College, you will not probably get in the second chance, because they will be willing to deduct your mark. So you got to be very, very careful about that. Do you understand? So your first time, you got to be very, very careful. I am a first time chance getter, so for me it is not a problem. But a lot of the students I have seen, and most of you who contact me are second timers, you say that you didn't have any clue about how you prepare for this exam, and that's the reason why you fall into trouble during your admission session. Okay, so what you need to understand is that first time is the best opportunity you have, but they understand the fact you have only around maybe 100 days to prepare, as this is the medical admission test is the first exam that is held during the admission season. So you've got to be willing to be careful. So preparation strategy, what will be your preparation strategy? My first advice will be, if you don't have a good background of biology and chemistry and physics, this exam is going to be extremely difficult for you. And a lot of you have got problem in English language, which is also a very important part. Now, my advice for your preparation is that you must develop the focus. You see, once your ACC examination is over, a lot of the times I have seen, even my students who do this kind of stuff, as they have finished their exam, now they want some joy, they want some relaxation, and they're not serious about their preparation. So you must prepare it well, okay? And one of the important skills that we teach you about your preparation is focus. You must be willing to focus in your study. You must study for a very long period of time. If you tell me about my admission journey, in my admission journey, I have surpassed over 500,000 of students. Okay? And I would like to share with you one important trait is that, do you know what was the reason why I got chance? It's primarily because I didn't do except my studying, my prayers. Okay? There were two things which I did, and they were studies and prayer, and other works I didn't engage in. Okay, so it gave me an enormous edge during the admission exam. And in every admission exam, I had the gut feeling, okay, today I'm going to perform this and I'm going to attain this rank. And most of the time, those perceptions, as I have prepared well, came true. Okay, so you got to be willing to have focus. Don't do anything else. Don't talk to your boyfriend or girlfriend. Don't talk with your parents. You see, if you don't get chance, do you know what your parents are going to give you? They're not going to be willing to be happy with you. A lot of the times, many of you contact me as your parents are not your friend anymore. Okay, because you have done a terrible mistake in the admission test. Now your parents don't like you. And also, this is very important for you to understand, because the world doesn't care for you. This is the fact. You've got to be willing to care for you, so that you could make sure a chance. So prepare for it. Don't do anything. Don't talk to your parents. Don't talk to other people. Don't talk to your girlfriend. Shut down your phones. Stay in the home for longer period of time. My advice to you will be, if you study with this, our admission preparation strategy, don't go for even coachings as well. Most of the times they're wasting your time, because unless when it comes to your preparation, you don't have much of a choice these days. And if you go out, it takes preparation. You cannot go out in naked. You'll have to be willing to wear on some dresses and this sort of works, which will kill you your time again. Okay, you should spend some of the time for exercises, prayer, and most of the time, 99% of the time, for your preparation. So we teach you how you focus on your study, and then we shape your perception. Why do you think most of the students who prepare for medical admission tests do not succeed? It's primarily because of their perception. They don't understand the fact, that if you don't prepare for your medical admission test, you will be facing very harsh circumstances in life. Every now and then we hear that there were students who were spending 50 lakhs taka for a private medical college. And who is paying for your medical admission fees? Your parents. It's a great burden that you are putting on them. And after you graduate, you don't get too many benefits, because there's some students who have graduated from, University of Dhaka, and you will not be valued as much as them, in the admission, in the marketplace, where you will be willing to build your career. So you're destroying your money, and you're destroying your time, and most importantly, you're destroying your family's life. I could share you my experience of one of the relatives I have. There was a girl, she was called Faria. She was a board standard. She stood in the board admission test, board test, and she attained good rank in each and every board exam. But when it came for her medical admission test or University of Dhaka admission test, Jahangirnagar admission test, GST admission test, she always failed. She did medical admission preparation for 2 times and failed in both times. Then later on, she spent a huge deal of money for studying in a private university, and that was all the savings of her father. And after that, as her father didn't have any money, he died at an early stage of life because of lack of medical care. So can you understand the fact that if you're destroying your parents' money, what could go wrong in your life? So for that reason, you must prepare well for your medical admission test. And another thing I would like to share with you, as in the first time you are not experienced, you could face a great deal of hurdles in your medical admission test. There's this person who had attained rank probably in the first time, but didn't succeed in getting chance. They are now preparing at a very high interest, and you're probably getting 100 days for your admissions. Do you know how many days they're getting? They're probably getting 500 days for preparing for their medical admission test as a second time, and that's why they have reduced their marks. But 500 days versus 100 days, can you imagine the great deal of burden that you're in? You know, the great deal of challenges that you're in. So you are in a very big challenge as you don't have much of time of preparation for your medical admission. So you utilize every single day very, very precisely, and most importantly, whole strategy. In the admission tests, as you are giving admission tests, you will figure out that while you are in the admission exam hall, there will be some problems that you will be facing. First of all, in the exam hall, you will be nervous. You'll probably have fear. You will have also some strategic issues. There are some strategies which I employed during my medical test. One of the things is that I remember precisely that during my admission test, I answered all the question at a stress. I didn't focus on my doubts, and I went with my first impression. And another thing I did, I used some physiological techniques so that I don't get nervous during the admission test. And there are certain strategies that you got to understand about the question paper. If you look at the question paper of medical admission test, you will see that they usually give hard questions in the beginning and easier questions in the later part of the exam, which can be a very, very difficulty for you, because when you are getting the difficult questions, you will see, today you will have fear. Oh my God, they have set up difficult questions today. I'm going to fail. So that perception, will sort out for you, and you will not sort out for the questions which are easy, which are in the later part of the admission test. And also they use some linguistic traps. There are some tricks that they use to reduce your mark. And also if you are preparing for your medical admission, you should be willing to know that for every correct question you will get 1, but they will reduce 0.25. So what would be your approach for your admission test? My advice is, you got to be aggressive, because if the question is not very difficult, first, as you are getting the question paper, ask yourself, is this question very difficult or is it easy? If it is easy, how easy it is? If it's very easy, then you will be willing to take very risky approach. Don't think of cut marks or anything. Let me tell you one thing. Only losers who do not get chance think of cut marks. But the students who are really successful, they are willing to take risk in this admission exam, because their perception is right, their preparation is right, they're willing to take risk. I took a great deal of risk, and let me tell you, as I took risk, I succeeded. The students who didn't take risk, they failed. So be willing to take risk, and especially if you find the question paper to be very easy. Take as much risk as you can, but make sure that you answer precisely. There will be some questions which will be difficult, and it will be very wise for you to do not answer those questions, because you will be getting negative marks as a result of it. So do not answer the questions which are difficult and totally unknown to you. If you can deduct 2 of the options, then you have 50-50 chances, then you could answer. But do not answer the questions which you don't know anything about. Okay, so be willing to take these sacrifices, okay, and answer these questions at a stress. And besides this, make sure that you don't focus on other things. Maybe the examiner that you are dealing with, they are making noises, they are maybe disturbing you. Do not focus on these issues. Forgive them. What you should be willing to focus on is your exam and your future. And answer the questions as fast as you can. Then you will succeed. So this was all about your admission journeys process. I will be willing to share with you more information at a later part. If you're new to this channel, subscribe our channel. And if you have any queries, you could contact me in my WhatsApp number. Okay, so thank you very much. Good day.